Welcome, everybody. This is your captain speaking, and welcome to the Catch 64. I am your captain, Chloe, or the CC nerd.
And I am your Captain Grizzly, or Sumi. And welcome aboard, everyone! Today's waters seem to be a little bit rocky, to say the least.
Yes, indeed, it is Rocky, because we are covering the Voltron Fandom today.
Woohoo! I don't know about this.
Man, oh man, man, oh man, this has been about 2 weeks in the making.
Honestly, I had to go away. I went on a trip to see my grandmother, and homegirl over here was desperately trying to spill the tea. So we were gonna record the Tuesday before I had work, but that fell through. Or no, I'm sorry, it was Wednesday, I think, the day before I left. And so we were just like, let's just do it now. So pardon for this episode being a week late, but please
we got busy,
forgive us.
We got busy lives, bro. We got things to do. We got school starting back in a few weeks, so we're trying to get our vacations on.
Oh, we also joined a roleplay server, which we're super excited about. Shout out to Loaf Town. If any of you guys are listening to this, you guys are awesome.
Yes, indeed.
We have an Instagram. We haven't posted anything, but yeah.
Yeah.
So before we start, I think I should at least explain what Voltron is for those of you who haven't seen it. If that's okay with you, Chloe.
Yeah, by all means.
Alright, so Voltron Legendary Defenders is actually a remake of a previous Voltron. Actually, there have been two different versions of Voltron. There was the original, which I believe... Wow.
I know for a fact that the original one, I know that it was in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, that one was released in the 80s, and I believe they made a 2000s remake, which... Yeah. I don't remember in the slightest. I think I saw the designs for some of the characters, and I thought Pidge was cute, but, that was it.
You're talking about, Voltron Force, right?
Voltron Force, yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, I heard in the background, this was before Legendary Defender came out. My dad was watching it in the background. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And then I just walked away.
Yeah. So basically the whole show in a nutshell is about takes place in the future, and it's about it's 5 teens or 5 people technically. Yeah. I'm gonna say people because one of them isn't even a teenager. Let's be honest with ourselves.
There's controversy with that too. We're gonna get into that a little bit later.
But it's about 5 individuals who are sent up into space and meet a space princess and her guardian, and with the help of the Voltron Lions, who form this giant robot named Voltron, they have to fight the Galra. I was so close to saying Metarex from Sonic X, but that's not what I mean. The Metarex are another type of alien that you'll probably hear me mention them in the next episode, which is about Sonic. But anyway, so it's definitely a show about friendship, teamwork, being able to cooperate with one another. And in a nutshell, it's really cute. It was done by the same studio as Avatar, I believe, and
I think it was Legend of Korra.
I'm sorry, Legend of Korra.
I think it was Legend of Korra.
I'm gonna say Legend of Korra.
I mean that's what I know. I haven't seen either of the two, so
how dare you?
I'm very, very uncultured, everyone. I'm uncultured in a lot of shows. I did not grow up with certain shows that Sumi and
like SpongeBob.
Yeah, I never grew up with SpongeBob. I was so snobby as a kid, okay? To break into a tangent, I was a very snobby kid, and a lot of the times people be like, oh, SpongeBob is so stupid, so I kind of joined in that brigade, and I never watched SpongeBob in my childhood, so now I'm missing out.
And now you've literally missed out on so many pop culture references, sis. It hurts.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
some memes, but like others, I don't really know like certain quotes from SpongeBob. Oh, I just only know them through Twitter.
It's okay. So real quick, I'm going to give you a quick summary of the characters, just to get a little bit back on topic. So I'm going to do the original placement for all the paladins. They're considered paladins, people that pilot the lions. But I think I'm going to also add in the new placements later on into the episode.
Yes.
So we are introduced to Lance, Paladin of the Blue Lion. Honestly, baby boy, I love him.
Yes.
He's very much that, like, he flirts with everybody. He's just very flirtatious, goofy, gives him the old razzle dazzle, that kind of a character.
He's like one of the main
and so speaking of comic relief, we have Hunk, who will also probably explain a little bit about how he didn't really get his justice. A character who is pretty much the heart of Voltron. He's the one that kind of, like, I think without Hunk, the whole squad would not be kept together. He's very much he is comic relief. He's the chef. He's the one that's always terrified, but in the end, he kind of comes in clutch when we need him the most. So, and he pilots. I don't think I mentioned this, but Lance piloted the Blue Lion. Hunk pilots the Yellow Lion. And then we have baddie of the hour, Pidge, who she's basically the nerd and the techie of the group.
Yes.
Her character, in all honesty, I actually enjoyed. I actually have, I don't know if you know this, Chloe, but I have a green lion in my room that my friend got me for my graduation from high school.
Oh my god, I never knew that.
Yeah. Like, it's on my windowsill, and I treasure it dearly. It's because the green lion and Pidge pilots the green lion. And Pidge, I just love Pidge.
Yeah, in this, what they did in this version, in the other versions, Pidge is male. They decided to make Pidge female in this version. So yeah, that's like one big like change that they did.
So yeah, so Pidge is female in this one. And honestly, I love her so much. I stan. Finally, well, not finally. We have Keith, the hothead of the hour. For all you stans that love your Rins or your Bakugos or whatever, you've got Keith, Mr. Mullet at his finest. He's edgy, he's angry, he's got great voice cracks.
He does.
I love you, Stephen Young. Please don't.
Great voice cracks. I'm now that I'm thinking about it, he has some really great voice cracks.
I mean, what's the line? He's like, "You're my brother. I love you."
Oh, we can't make fun of the man like that. We can't make fun of him.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Keith was my crush for the longest time when I first started Voltron. I was like, "Oh, who is this boy?" But he got replaced by the real boy and my alias occasionally, Space Daddy, aka Shiro. I hate that I said that.
Listen, I mean, I think that's what everybody was thinking in the fandom when the series started. Even the voice actor for Shiro, Josh Keaton, was talking about it.
So, by the way, Keith piloted the Red Lion. Shiro pilots the Black Lion. Now, let me tell you something about Shiro. He pretty much is just the dad of the group. You know what that means? He's the one that basically calls the shots. He kind of checks in with his teammates, like, "Yo, are you good? Do you need to talk?" He represents a lot. Now, as the series progresses, we'll understand why or what. But minor spoilers, he's gay, which is everything. And I think one of the reasons I like him so much, besides the fact that he was like, "I'm the dad," is that he really worked towards being better, not for just himself, but for the team. But yeah, so he piloted the Black Line. We have Alora, who is also baddie of the hour,
Oh,
Princess
yes.
Alora.
Should
Um,
label her to be Queen Allura, because good God, oh my God, she's a queen.
Al- Alora is the princess of Altea, which unfortunately was destroyed in the attack from the Gulra. She's pretty much just kind of like the one. She also calls the shots. She's technically like space mom if you think about it. Lance is deeply in love with her. Let's be real with ourselves. He flirted with her in the beginning,
Here's
and
the thing.
I mean,
It was like a baby crush, but then like once seasons 5 and 6 happened, it just was deep. It was a deep love, honestly. It was just a simple crush, but then it went into something more.
yeah. Basically, Alora is just a black woman who technically didn't need a man, but has one anyway.
Yeah.
We've got another comic relief character, Karan, who I actually really enjoy.
Same.
Despite the fact that he was comic relief, he was definitely Alora's like parental figure once her father and her mother were dead, unfortunately. And I mean, I don't know. I wasn't as annoyed by him by some people were that like some people were.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that people were annoyed by Karan? Because honestly, Karan kind of lifted some weight off of the heavy things that were happening in season 7 and especially season 8.
Well, I think in between those seasons, people were kind of annoyed. Like, I know I had a couple of friends who were like, "Oh my god, this character is a pain in my butt," and I'm like, "Bruh."
I'm kind of shocked, really.
I'm like, "Yo, Karan,
the gorgeous man,
bars is everything."
Yeah, I'm really surprised because I think it's just that like over the years, I've had like a very huge soft spot for comic relief characters, so I think like I didn't mind Karan at all throughout the entirety of the show. He was such a dope character, and it's just that he kind of is, as I said before, he kind of brings makes the situations a little more lighter.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah.
And then in terms of antagonists, we have Zarkon. I was about to call him Zircon, like from Steven Universe.
Oh, wrong one.
You know, the one who's like
AKA Ace Attorney, but with
pretty much the one. I love the line. What did you think was gonna happen, Rose Quartz? As soon as that door opened, you're going on trial. Like, I love that line because of the way it's delivered. Anyway, Zarkon. So he's basically the Galra ruler. And the Galra are just taking over planet after planet, expanding their empire, destroying it as we speak, trying to gather this magical essence known as quintessence, bars. And he's ruthless. Like, my boy really just does not give a single shit. And it's like, dude, relax.
Yeah.
what happened?
He's like ready to like honestly kill. For a kid show, he's ready to kill. He's ready to maim. He's ready to eradicate empires.
And it's quite obvious because, I mean, homeboy pretty much destroys planets left and right. Like, I destroy, I don't know, burritos at Chipotle, you know, or Starbucks drinks. But so there's Zarkon. We have his witchy best friend, Hagar, who in the beginning we don't know much about her. We do end up finding out a lot more about her later on in the series, which I'm gonna leave that to you, Chloe, because I mean, homegirl's got tea on that one.
Yeah,
so I don't want to.
Like, it's like a little. It was a little sprinkle of lore in like season 1, but once it reaches around like season 7 and 8, it just like it's like a branch.
Yeah. And I think I'm gonna finally introduce the great boy himself, Lotor, who I think, in my opinion, was more of an anti-hero
Yes,
Or he
honestly,
was just, yeah.
yeah, yes. He's more of like an anti-hero than anything else in the series. I really
He,
like the direction
yeah.
that they did with him, but like the way that his arc pretty much ended in like season 6, I was like, damn, y'all did this man so dirty. He was
And
such a cool character.
it gets even worse in season 8 when you're like, yo, y'all just y'all violated. Damn. You know.
Honestly, yeah.
But personality wise, I mean, he's confident. He's basically Loki of
Yes.
Voltron.
Yeah,
He's
he's the
cocky.
Loki of Voltron.
He's arrogant, but he's smart and he knows what he's doing. Also, all his generals are women, so like clearly he was like, no, I'm gonna have some baddies on my team. Thank you.
Oh yeah, like also even though he wasn't like a he was a big villain, but he doesn't like have much as like compared to like Zarkon, Hagar, and Lotor. We should mention Sendak because he
Yeah,
played
yeah,
a bit of a role throughout the series, especially
yeah.
with like character arcs for Shiro especially.
Yeah. So Sendak was one of the Galra leaders who basically had beef with Shiro. Personality wise, he was just kind of like Zarkon, ruthless, wanting to preserve the Galra Empire and their traditions and whatever.
He's
Um,
just Zarkon but fuzzier.
and buffer.
Yeah, and has a cool looking arm. That's it. That's it. He has everything else that Zarkon has. The only difference is he's not leader either. So
No, he's
yeah,
not a good leader. Period.
yeah,
I think we should also mention. Um, Let me just real quick bring up. I was talking before. I mentioned before about lion swaps. So what ends up happening in the series? Something happens to Shiro where Keith ends up like in the original. Keith pilots the black lion, Lance pilots the red lion, and Alora takes over the mantle as the blue lion. Now, TBH, I still think Alora should have been the black lion because I would have loved my black queen to be in that black lion and be the leader
yeah.
of all them bros.
She has enough capabilities as a leader, and she's shown time and time again how much like she's a great diplomat. She's great at like keeping everybody together. But honestly, I think it's pretty obvious that like they kind of wanted to follow the molds that the previous two series did, which was Alora piloted the Blue Lion in both of those series. But they
Yeah.
they could have done it different, but I can kind of see why they did what
Yeah.
they did, just to kind
Yeah.
of keep that mold.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I mean, I'm still bitter about it, but I'm not gonna like take this to the grave or anything. Like,
Yeah.
would it have been nice to see, as a person of color, as a black person, and as a Latino, I can definitely say I think I would have loved to see Alora, um, be the leader because I mean she was already a leader to begin
Yeah.
with the fact that even though she wasn't physically in Voltron, if Shiro was like confuzzled, out of commission, didn't know what to do, Alora was like, "All right, listen here, bro. Um, what we're not gonna do is lose our heads. We're gonna get together and we're going to, you know, defeat the enemy using this strategy. How will we know it works? We don't know, but we're gonna have to risk it anyway for the sake of the planet or the sake of the universe."
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, I would have loved to see uh, that.
Yeah.
Um,
But honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of people, like including us, we have given Keith a little bit of flack for being the leader, especially like in season 3, because in I think I don't remember if it was 4, 5, or 6, but at some point Keith dips.
yeah,
He dips and
I
like
remember
he like he joins another joins another like group called the Blades of Mamora, which are like Gara, half Galrin, people who kind of like oppose the golden rule and everything. So yeah, he joins that in like one of those seasons. I can't remember which one it was.
I want to say it's season 5. I want to say it's season 5.
Yeah, he does that, and then he comes back. But honestly, I will say in season 7 and 8, he wasn't bad. He really wasn't bad.
He wasn't there that much. That's why.
That's true, but like he wasn't like doing so many like risque things and kind of being like trying to kind of screw over or kill the team. He was like very cooperative with them. He motivated them and everything. It was nice.
Right.
It was a nice change of pace. I'm like, yo, Keith wasn't a bad leader this season. I like that.
Well, you know what we call that?
Growth.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like the usual, like that's like the big take with Keith. I don't think Keith was originally a hothead. I don't know. I have not seen either the first series of Voltron or Voltron Force, so I can't confirm this. I don't know if Keith was a hothead in any of those though.
I mean Keith as a character, I know he was like in the original Voltron, he was kind of like cookie cutter, like, oh, I'm the hero, I get the baddie, I get the girl, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm also kind of happy that they gave my boy some personality. I mean, I actually have not seen Voltron Force. I've seen clips of it. Mm-hmm. And all I know is when I was younger, I saw a Pidge, and I was like, damn, Pops, what's poppin'? But, I don't, I mean, he might have been kind of like standoffish, edgy in that one too, because I know it was a different take of Voltron in Voltron Force.
Yeah.
But, you know, he did grow as a character, and I'm not gonna be like, he did not, you know, he really did change, and he kind of stepped up to the plate when he needed to.
Yeah.
So why don't we, now that we've kind of explained the, characters, why don't we, start talking about some tea? Because if you all don't know, Voltron is a very controversial fandom.
Yeah, man. Oh boy. Oh man. The show came out in June, and around San Diego Comic-Con, when they confirmed the ages of certain characters, specifically Shiro
and Keith,
and I believe Lance and Hawk, no. Pidge, yes.
Yeah, Pidge, definitely. Pidge is baby.
Yeah, Pidge is like 14, 15 years old. So, when you hear me say this, you know where I'm going. We're gonna be talking about some shipping.
Shipping and handling.
Yeah, so basically, the main controversy with Voltron is its shipping, because there are two main ships, and both of those ships involve our lovely former Red Paladin, permanent Black Paladin, Keith. And the two characters he is shipped with the most are Lance and Shiro.
Now, here's the... You know, I don't know if I should say it because it's kind of biased, because when I started the series, and I think it was specifically we had a bonding moment, that whole scene.
I cradled you in my arms!
Nope, don't remember, didn't happen. That was my favorite scene, and I was like, Clance is my favorite ship in this entire show. Now, I personally enjoyed Clance. Would I have liked it to have been canon? I think every shipper wants their pairing to be canon. Yeah. You know, whether it's stuff like from BNHA, Kiribaku. Would that be nice? Yeah, it'd be nice, but you know what? Shipping is usually left to the consumer as imagination and you know, a reason to make fan art and like and fan fictions, whatever. It's usually not supposed to be taken seriously.
Yes.
I was never a Sheath shipper because it was kind of established that they were brothers. Not biologically, but in a sense,
they were like had a very big familial bond.
And one of the, and this was a few years ago, a person that I knew, we were talking about Supernatural, and I really hated this comment because it makes me think of Sheath now. They shipped Dean and Sam. Now, mind you, they're biological brothers. And when I was in middle school and I had started Supernatural, I was a Destiel shipper, which is Dean and Castiel. I really only shipped it because my friends liked it. But this person had asked me, hey, what do you ship? And I was like, well, if I had to pick a shipping or a pairing, I picked Destiel. And, they proceeded to yell at me and was like, what do you mean you wouldn't ship Sam and Dean? Like, what? You think brothers actually act that way in real life? I'm like, look, let me tell you something, bro. If my brother, well, I don't have a brother, but if my brother or my sibling, let's say my sibling, was injured, I would cradle them in my arms and have a bonding moment because I want to make sure that they're okay.
Exactly.
That's normal.
Yeah, that's normal things that a normal family member would do to another family member.
And so, but the thing is with Sheath, because that line of like, oh, this isn't how brothers act kind of stuck with me, I was like, well, yes, this is how brothers act. They don't have to be biological.
Yeah.
Shiro pretty much took Keith up under his arm, or under his wing, and was like, I'm gonna pretty much like raise this boy and make sure he's the best that he can be.
Yeah.
And a lot of the affection shown seems to be brotherly. Now, like, if you want to ship them, I'm not a fan of it. I know Chloe.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna do a you see what happened was moment, okay? Now, when I was younger and when I was into Voltron, when it was like end of high school, beginning of college, I was like 18 at the time, I used to ship it. But now that I'm kind of like looking at it, and after watching season 6 and season 6 and 7 and kind of seeing how young Keith was, I will literally enroll myself into clown college because yeah, I can see why so many people were like, yeah, I don't know if I would ship this because
it was the ages.
It was the age gap. That's like the main issue with that ship is the age gap.
And for some context, in the beginning of the series, Keith was 18 and Shiro was 25. Yeah. There's been like jump skips, time skips where everyone's aged up a little bit, and Keith is technically an adult, so I mean, yes, you could ship it now.
Yeah.
But back then it was mainly Keith was before we knew the ages, Keith was to us baby, and Shiro was a whole grown-ass man.
Yeah. So like once that occurred, a lot of fans, especially people who were like anti-Sheath, anti-Shaladin, kind of were like saying this is pedophilic. So, yeah, it caused, to say the least, caused quite a number of controversy.
And now, as Clance shippers, I'm gonna be honest, I hate no, I can't say I hate all Clance shippers, but most of the drama is from Clance shippers, honestly. It's okay for you to debate and talk about why this ship is not the best and why this ship makes sense. That's normal. Yeah. That's normal fandom culture.
Yeah.
But what isn't okay is attacking the voice actors, the directors, and the writers,
and the animators,
and the animators. That is the kind of stuff that makes my blood boil. There have been cases of, for example, I'll bring this up now. There was a Voltron fan who actually blackmailed the studio just for Clance. And so what had happened was this person went into took a tour at Studio Mirror, and without permission took photos of the storyboards and leaked them online. and pretty much held these photos for ransom and refused to take them down. Now, mind you, these were storyboards of future episodes, and they refused to take them down until they made Klance canon. This is the extreme we're talking about. Yeah. This is what's not okay. And it's not like, Studio Mirror was like, yo, that's just this crazy fan. No. I don't think the fan realized that if those things were up or DreamWorks caught them, the studio could be sued by DreamWorks. And no matter what, they were adamant about keeping it up. And it wasn't like also the fandom had let this slide. Like, clearly this person was told off by a bunch of fans from all areas of the fandom. And I mean, rightfully so, because that's disrespectful, and that's it pretty much caused the studio to not be able to allow tours anymore.
Yeah, I think also in regards to that story, I think a lot of people, they reblogged this because I believe it was from Tumblr. They reblogged it, but as soon as they kind of found out that kind of information and how much damage it could do, they took it off of their blogs immediately, except for that one person.
Yeah, which, thankfully people realized, which is what I stand. We thank you to those people who did that, because at least you realize that wasn't okay.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, in regards to other stuff and pertaining to ships, and also kind of going back to, like, Sheath for a little bit, in regards to the voice actors, now, there are plenty of voice actors in the industry right now that all of them, they have social medias, they have Instagram, they have Facebook, they have Tumblr, they have Twitter, mostly to connect with other people and everything. I follow a few voice actors on Twitter and Instagram, but like the thing is that the only downside to being a voice actor or like a content creator as a whole is that you're susceptible to getting nasty comments by fans. And in one of those cases about like Sheath, before he knew the ages, Josh Keaton, he wasn't like a super like, oh yeah, Sheath is the ish kind of shipper, but like he like was like he was like, he didn't mind it, and he kind of cracked jokes about it a little bit, but it kind of got to the point where fans started to threaten him, and then it got to the extent where they threatened his family. So it's it was so much to the point that like he had to post, I believe, either on his Twitter or his Tumblr, that he's not going to get himself involved in topics about shipping anymore in the fandom because of how toxic it can get and how overwhelming it kind of got for him.
Right. And like that's the thing is like, yes, voice actors, some voice actors or actors in general, they participate in fandoms. Like that's totally valid. But you should not be threatening somebody over a ship. Like that's just not okay. Like where in your right mind do you think, oh, well, this pairing that I am obsessed with isn't canon, I guess I'm gonna start harassing people now. Like, where in your mind do you think that's okay? And like, people are making the assumption that these are all like, 12-year-olds, 13, 14-year-olds. No, some of these people are like our age or older.
Yeah, most of what I think, they're either in their late teens to like early 20s.
Right. And it's funny because a lot of the voice actors were kind of depressing. Well, a couple of them, like Bex Taylor, Klaus was part of it. Jeremy Shada, Josh Keaton. I'm not quite sure about Kimber. I think Kimberly Brooks was. I'm not quite sure about Tyler Labine and Stephen Young. Because I think they kind of were doing their own thing, which, like, power to you, bro.
Yeah.
But they eventually stopped interacting. Like, I think Bex stopped going to certain conventions, and Jeremy was visibly uncomfortable when a fan ranted about Lance.
I believe it was the Comic-Con last year. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but someone was kind of ranting about like Lance and his character growth in the series, which was it was like some people were like, yeah, go off, sis, but like there's a time and a place for those kinds of opinions, and I don't think that was the best call, and I don't think that was very respectful to the creators, and also especially to the voice actors, because there are certain things that the voice actors, they don't know. So
yeah. I remember when I was researching for this episode, I found apparently there was, after season 6, there was a Clance shipper on Tumblr who decided to set up a riot, and they would march over to DreamWorks Studios with weapons and masks of Keith and Lance to demand that Clance become canon. Now, mind you, a big plethora of the drama was mainly, just to reiterate this, was mainly Clance.
yes.
Like, okay, we all love rival shipping, but if you want rival shipping that's canon, just read Carry On, because that's pretty much what that entire book is about. Rival shipping. Period. You know, there was that. There was also, let's see what else we had. There's also anti-fandoms.
Yeah.
Which is basically people, and I quote, anti-fandom is when people focus on source text for the entertainment value of mocking it. Sometimes anti-fans were never actually fans of the original source text to begin with, but sometimes they were fans who became increasingly disenchanted and finally angered or repelled by canon or fandom developments, end quote, commenting, quoting an article that I will leave in the description, possibly. But that is really depressing.
Yeah, like that you like it's literally the anti-fandom, because where fandoms are usually formed out of a love for something, this kind of thing is formed out of a hate for something.
Right.
It's really, really funny kind of how opposite it is. It's kind of like yin and yang in a way, but like in this case, you could live without the other. Without that.
I'm just gonna kind of pop off on a tangent here, because when I was younger, I was one of those shippers. You know, when Hetalia was a thing back in like it was 2012 or something. I think I mentioned it before. I used to ship France and UK, but I used to be one of those people where I would pretty much comment on people's posts. Also with Sonic and X Amy, I hated that pairing when I was younger. That it was disgusting. How could you like that? You're a horrible human being. And now that I'm older, that kind of stuff disgusts me, because that's the toxicity in fandoms that nobody wants that forces people to repel away from certain medias.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, I guess if you say, hey, you should watch Voltron, some people will go, but that fandom though, and I'm like, you don't need to be involved with the fandom to enjoy a show. You really don't.
And that's like the unfortunate thing, because when it comes to fandoms, what fandoms pretty much are, it's kind of like a way to kind of like just talk about a show with somebody else. You could make friends through a fandom. You could have mutuals on your social media through a fandom. But it's just very unfortunate that fandoms like these are like it's very scary and very daunting to be a part of it, because you have to tiptoe basically on who you can trust to be like a bit more calm and a bit more sane about the whole thing. And then you have people who are kind of off the rails. So, yeah.
I think we should also mention it's kind of the queer elephant in the room, queer baiting.
Oh my goodness.
As a member of the LGBTQ community, I don't know how to feel. I really don't. I genuinely don't know how to feel. Because I'm happy that we have a gay character, which is Shiro.
Yeah.
I'm bothered a little bit by the fact that... So what basically ended up happening was season 7 promo, you were told that the character Shiro was gay.
Yes.
Great. Fantastic. Makes my king even more legendary. Upgraded my boy from level 10 to 39. That was so specific. I'm so sorry.
Wow, that was oddly specific.
But, anyway, yeah. So the character, came out as gay, and, they were introduced to his fiance, Adam. And, everyone was kind of excited for this. Everyone was like, oh, great, we have queer character, we get to meet my boy's fiance. And
big side note too, there were clips of it. This was announced at San Diego Comic-Con. I believe it was either last year or the year before. And they showed episode 1 of season 7. And that's where he appeared in. And there was a line that he said that was, "Takashi, how important am I to you?" And everybody was freaking out about it. Ah, man, little did they know.
He barely showed up.
Yeah.
We only saw him once in the entire... Or not once, we saw him twice.
Yeah, it was twice. It was once during that episode, and then twice when there's an episode where they talk about, where they cover what was going on Earth when the Galra fleet attacked, and he was one of the pilots that unfortunately didn't make it. A little bit of spoilers, but he was one of the soldiers that didn't make it. So yeah, and so a lot of people were angry because it was pretty much it was like bury your gays plot, which I can completely understand, because they hyped it up a little too much. Yeah, they did.
To the point where a lot of people were expecting more of an interaction. And I think I was one of those people. I was bothered. I don't think I was as angry, which I think I should have been.
Yeah.
But, I think I was already exhausted by the chaos that had already ensued within the fandom. And I was just like, girl, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, at some point I was just like, I was kind of like, not necessarily disagreeing, but I was like, the fandom's complaining again. But in this specific case, I can most certainly see why. Because it kind of feels unfair that, for example, you have development, like romantic development, between two members of the opposite sex, i.e. Lotor and Allura, in this case, for seasons 5 and 6. You have that, but then you don't really give a character like Shiro, and he has a relationship with someone like Adam. It would have been nice to see something a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah. And, eventually Shiro gets his happily ever after. He quits the battle. And basically, Shiro is queer Asian, Queer Asian, disabled. And there was one other thing. I think it was, PTSD?
I guess?
that was basically all the boxes that he checked.
Yeah. Like,
Because he went through a lot of stuff. His character basically, before the scenes that take place in season 1, we're pretty much told that our boy was thrown into an arena, forced to fight like gladiator style, and ended up getting his arm chopped off
yeah.
and replaced with a metal boy.
Yes.
Um, we also get introduced to Kuran, which is just a spoiler alert. It's a freaking clone. It's a clone. But that was like, in terms of queer baiting, people were claiming that Shiro was queer baiting because there were not as many gay interactions. Now, my thing is, for some like that is an example of, okay, don't hype up something that really isn't that important, because you just disappointed your fandom that was already kind of disappointed to begin with. But I think what a lot of, and I can say this personally, what I would like to see in a queer character isn't that their main personality is, oh, I'm queer, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want a character that reminds the main characters that are like, oh, I am gay, or oh, I'm non-binary. Like,
Oh, if you're like, for example, like the sassy gay friend.
right.
Yeah.
We're tired. People are tired of the sassy gay friend.
Yeah.
And so what a lot of us want is that for that to be like, normalized.
Yeah.
So a character approaching another character and being like, oh, hey, what are you doing? And that character's like, oh, I'm texting my boyfriend. Something as simple as that, like a male character telling their best friend that, oh yeah, my boyfriend and I are going out on a date. Do you want to bring your partner over? We'll go on a double date. Subtle stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we're not asking to. I'm not asking to erase, queer characters.
Yeah.
Sure, a character's sexuality can be, brought up as a plot point occasionally,
Yes.
when it's done right.
Yeah.
If it's just done to appease to fans, then it's not worth it.
It kind of makes it seem like what's the point of kind of doing that if you're just only there to like please fans in a way.
Right.
And
Right.
also to kind of like talk about like just having that like kind of like what you were saying. It's kind of like basically just like taking a character like, I don't know, let's say for example Captain America, just
My boy.
and just like it's like just his entire character's still the same. It's just the only difference he's gay. That's it.
Yeah.
That's like literally the only difference. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to, as you said before, it doesn't have to be like a main plot point. What a lot of people in the LGBTQ community, they just want to see characters that are like pretty much the same as like someone like Superman, someone like Captain America, as I said before, but it's just that like their sexuality is different. It's just you can make it more subtle. It doesn't have to be like their whole personality. There can be more facets to them than that.
Right. And I think also like that this is also kind of like bringing into, what I mentioned before about Alora and how I wanted her to how great it would have been, especially as a young person of color, if I was a child and I was watching Voltron. And I mean, Alora herself is, a badass character, period, point blank.
Yes.
It would have been even better to see this girl take control of her team completely.
Yes.
And be like, buddy, I know we just lost Shiro, but we still have a world to save. And her pretty much picking up the slack where Shiro left off, because girl lost her entire planet, her parents, and
She's
her and Kuran are the
stasis for over 10,000 years.
Right. Times have changed.
Yes.
If anyone should be piloting or leading Voltron, it should have been Alora. It just my personal opinion. Like, you can disagree with me, but to see that as, a young person of color, as a young Afro-Latino person, I would have been so happy. And I felt like when I was younger, I hated being a princess. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I always referred to myself as the knight because I thought the knight was badass. But seeing Allura, I would have been like, yo, I can be a princess and I can kick some ass at the same time.
Yes. But
And sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was just that's pretty much it. That's all I really had to say.
But yeah, like, here's the thing. I'm not gonna lie. In season 1 for me, I was kind of like, with her character. But as soon as she threw Shiro like a sack of potatoes, I was sold.
She said, "This bitch empty." Yay!
Like, the thing is that she proved time and time again, like, through the fight scenes, through the very diplomatic scenes, how much of a powerful character she was, and how much of a powerful character, how much of an impact she had towards the paladins, and eventually towards the garrison. She was a very, very powerful character, and as you said before, Sumi, it would have been really nice to kind of have a character like that in, like, when we were younger, represented in media.
Right.
Because what we got, I'm gonna be honest with you, we got Princess Fiona. I'm gonna just say that.
I mean, it's not like Princess Fiona wasn't a queen. Like, I mean, holy crap, Homegirl took out
Robin Hood and his merry men.
And his squad, yeah.
Yeah. So
They said squad fuck, but she was like, no. So, but I know my queen Chloe has a little bit of tea revolving a very, very popular fan fiction, which I happen to enjoy, called Dirty Laundry.
Oh man, okay, let me give you the backstory on this. So, well, for me personally, when I discovered Dirty Laundry, I believe I think I was on vacation that year. And I was super heavy into Voltron, and I saw a bunch of stuff on Twitter. I was like, I should check this fanfic out. I read the entire thing through, and, one night, like one late night, I was just chilling, and I was like looking at stuff, and then on Pinterest, like cute little fan art stuff for that, and then there was an entire section of fan art dedicated to Dirty Laundry. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read this fic again. So I tried to search it up, but it was nowhere to be seen. The only thing that was seen, like, that you could see of it was, there was a re-upload on fanfiction.net, because it was originally on Archive of Our Own. And it was a re-upload of the whole thing. The person that did it got the permission of the author to do so, and then I started to kind of dive into why Dirty Laundry was erased from Archive of Our Own. So basically, in 2016, the fic was written, and it was like probably one of the most popular not ships, but one of the most popular fanfics for like any Clans fan, because some people refer to it as like the Clans Bible. Like, you have to read this fanfic because it's like one of the coolest, one of the most sweet and wholesome fanfics. It's kind of like, from what I remember from like what it's about, it's an AU of the Paladins. They're all in college, and essentially Keith has to pretend to be Lance's boyfriend for the entirety of their Christmas break, because Lance was coming over to go see the family, and it was a nice fanfic, but
I agree.
like, what they did with the fanfic was, like, they made Lance, Mexican American, because this was before the, we find out that he's canonically Cuban American. And I think there were, like, a lot of people started to kind of say things like how offensive it was, and how very stereotypical it was to Latino culture. And, yeah, it was, like, that was one of the things. And also another thing was they put in an original character, that was, on the spectrum. And not only that, they got, like, research, they kind of, like, did a little bit of research because one of their friends' sibling was on the spectrum, so they used that kind of, like, information, and then they made a character based off of that. So they got flack for that, and it was kind of a constant back and forth of, this person is, being racist, being ableist, and there have been multiple times where, like, they've apologized for the way that they portrayed Lance, and the way they portrayed Lance's, brother, who was on the spectrum. And, I think, there were people who defended, them, and they were also, like, of, Latinx culture, and they were saying that, yeah, this reminded me of, of when I was younger, and this also made me connect more to Lance than, I thought I would. But regardless, they, eventually, because of how big the hate train for them was, they shut down the fanfic, last April. Not April, August.
Mm-hmm.
A's. But they shut down the fanfic last August, August of 2018. But before that, they replaced it with Dirty Lawn B, so it was the entirety of the first part of the script for B movie, and then they erased the fanfic, eventually.
Which, I'll be honest with you, I read that fanfiction, and I honestly was not offended by Lance's, like, characterization, I guess is the best way to say it. Because, I mean, there are a lot of Latin households where folks speak Spanish and English to each other.
Yes.
And you know what? I actually didn't know Lance was Cuban until it was confirmed. Like, I don't get me wrong, I low-key in the back of my head was like, yo, it'd be everything this was Latino. Like, that was, I loved that idea.
Yeah.
And so I think Dirty Laundry was kind of like, for me, I was like, ooh, that fits with my headcanon. I like that. And then when they were like, yeah, by the by, he's Cuban, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I was hyped. But I don't think, like, I actually didn't finish Dirty Laundry because I was reading it in high school, and I got, like, caught up with high school stuff, as one does.
Yeah.
But I did not, you know, this is my opinion, you can debate with me in the comments, or whatever, but I don't think I found it as offensive as people were claiming it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like a lot of people, from what you were telling me, Chloe, a lot of the people that were saying this might not have been Latinx.
Yeah.
Which we love. It's like, okay, you can be an ally, don't get me wrong, but it's also like, maybe leave this for Latinx folks.
Yeah, they're, like, just kind of, like, browsing through the comments, especially because there's an article, on Dirty Laundry on Fanlore, and
Mhm.
they kind of accumulated certain like comments saying that, oh, I am like also Mexican. I'm also Latino American. I'm Puerto Rican, and I didn't find this thing offensive. Now, I personally, I can't really speak for that because even though I'm a person of color, I'm not Latinx in the slightest. So I can't personally speak for that, but from what they're saying, they're like, yeah, this is this is totally valid, this is fine. But sometimes people were like, yeah, I can kind of see where this person was coming from when they kind of like said that this was offensive, but I don't really mind it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was like a debate. But the thing that kind of gets to me the most is that they said that they made this just because they wanted to create a fanfic because they loved the show and they loved Clance, and they just wanted to make a very like wholesome fanfic. But
Which is, it's actually kind of sad when you think about it that this person was essentially um canceled because she wrote something that may or may not have been politically correct
yes,
to uh, a group of people.
yes,
Um, Now, like I said, some Latinx folks might have found it offensive, some may not have. It's their opinion, but I don't think the person that wrote the fanfic should have been canceled.
yeah,
That,
yeah,
yeah,
because they researched and they educated themselves on what they wanted to what they wanted to write, because they wanted to make it as like as accurate as possible in some way, shape, or form, and they didn't want to offend anybody, but unfortunately it backfired. But yeah.
yeah. So, um, I genuinely love this fandom
Yes.
despite all the flaws, because
Mm.
with every bad fandom, bad things from a fandom, there are good things in a fandom, such as
Yes.
fan art, such as the voice actors actually interacting with the fandom, answering questions.
And showing that they really care about the
Right,
series.
right. And I'm appreciative of that. And I think fans in general need to be appreciative of that as well. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm saying the right word, but I just think that, if you truly love something like that, maybe don't be hostile towards the writer unless they do. Okay, I guess the only time it like really matters when they do something extremely offensive
Yes.
where you all can come together and agree that was effed up, you need to be canceled.
Yes.
And Voltron is still, it's kind of calmed down a little bit.
Especially since it's ended
It's,
like a
yeah.
few months back.
I did not, I watched some of season 8, the final season, but I fell into a JoJo binge, so I just kind of.
Honey, you're valid. You're so valid. For me, I was like, shoot, this recording for this podcast is coming up. I gotta watch it. So what I did was I watched some of it. I believe the night before I had to go to my job. I watched a good chunk of it while I was at my job, and then I finished it off when I like after work and everything. So, yeah, oh my goodness. Like, I'm not gonna lie. The reason why I stopped watching Voltron and kind of like jumped off the hype train for me was because of how the fandom was and how much they kind of like complained about how the
Yeah.
writing and the direction went, which is
Yeah.
understandable. But as I was watching it, I kind of realized why I started this show in the first place and how much I loved this show and how much how big and bombastic a kids show series finale should be. It was a lot. It was very it was pretty well done. Honestly, they really could have done certain things differently because, as you said before, Sumi, Shiro gets married. The only issue is we don't see his husband throughout the entirety of the show, only for one minor comedic clip, but we barely see him interact with Shiro.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one thing that kind of bothered
Came out
me
of
a
left
little
field.
bit. Yeah, exactly. It kind of bothered me a little bit, but because I'm damn son, you got Laura and Lance all together snuggling and stuff, and then you got nothing, just a trail of breadcrumbs for good old Takashi Shirogane.
my boy.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was, even though it was nice, I personally would have loved to see more
I think
more of that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I just for all of its flaws, there's so many good memories attached to it. I've got a Voltron poster somewhere in my room. I've got a Voltron lion. I actually have a sweater that says Space Dad on it.
Yes.
In high school, when I introduced the show to my friends at our anime club, folks were like, "This isn't considered anime." I'm like, "Yeah, shut up, watch it." And we watched it, and it became a fan favorite. Come on, fan favorite.
Work it, fan favorite.
And I think personally, if I hadn't been introduced to the drama of the fandom, which I don't know if it was hard to, I don't think I would have jumped off the hype train. And I said before, fandom shouldn't ruin your experience of a show.
Yes.
But that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
So don't let that happen to you.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it was inevitable to happen because it was such a big show.
Oh yeah.
And it with fandoms, there's bound to be toxicity in it, especially if it's a large fandom, then yes. Mm-hmm. But if it's small fandoms, then maybe not. But with Voltron, I think it was inevitable. You're going to, at some point, somebody's gonna mention something.
Yeah.
With how big this fandom was. So, yeah. It was nice to jump back on that train of Voltron, even though I was several months too late.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I heard it was ending, when season 8 was the final season, I was like, wait, for real? 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 For real?
For real?
I was shocked. I was like, damn, we're actually about to end this bad boy.
Honestly, my first thought was, thank God, I'm tired. This is too much. Everybody's so angry for no reason. This is a show that's targeted towards lovely children. If they enjoyed this damn show, then they did their job. Point blank. Period. That's what I have to say about it.
Yeah.
Kids will love this show.
Exactly. I think minus the yes, there's some errors with writing. There have been rumors floating around on Twitter that the writing was chaotic. Scenes were changed last minute, reanimated, storyboards were thrown out, lack of communication. But overall, the show as a reboot, I think for a younger generation, it works. It executes it pretty well, modernizes it, makes characters that people can look up to, whether you're a techie like Pidge, an edgelord like Heath,
a big soft-hearted sweetie like Hunk.
A flirtatious lover boy like Lance, a queen and a king like a Laura and Shiro, or just an overall goofball like Karan. I think there's at least one character in that show that I think somebody can either um identify with
Yeah.
or at least like, you
Yes.
know. And it doesn't have to be the main characters, it could be a side character, it could literally be the character Slav who pisses off Space Dad constantly.
But here's the thing, though, without giving away any spoilers, he was right about realities.
Yeah, he was
He was
extremely
right. He was right
about a lot of things.
the whole time. Anyway.
But just let's I think we should start getting ready to sign off here.
Yes.
Overall, Voltron is a really good show. I recommend it still,
Yes.
despite all of its flaws, all the drama that is involved.
Yes. Like it's a fantastic show. Honestly, I will say seasons 1 and 2. Whoa, yo, that's like a great like first 2 seasons to kind of jump off, like to jump start with, because I will say seasons 1 and 2, it will leave you wanting more stuff.
I agree.
Yeah.
That was the season that, the writers were like, all right, we gotta get these folks hooked. And it got you hooked. You were like, oh.
Yeah, they reeled you in.
Yeah, they were like, yo, I want to know more about my boy Keith. Why he the way he is? Or folks who are like, excuse me, did you just come for my lover boy Lance? I'm gonna fight you.
Yeah, here's the thing. Even though there were certain characters, mainly, I will say, Hunk, because there are times where Hunk, unfortunately, he doesn't get, like, the character development that he honestly deserves. Even though there's stuff like that, it's an ensemble cast, and that sometimes that's bound to happen, unless it's a video game. But, yeah, honestly, it's a great show. One thing to keep in mind is that certain seasons, I believe it's seasons 3, 4, 5, and 6, the episodes compared to like 1 and 2 and 7 and 8 are much shorter, and a little bit like they're much shorter episodes compared to those two. So like it's
or seasons.
Yeah, compared to those seasons. It's like half of what like season 1 could be like. For example, it's season 1 is 13 episodes, season 3 is like 6 or 7.
Yeah, which they could have condensed them all, but they probably were like, let's just get this junk out now.
Yeah, and it's Netflix, so you can watch it at any time.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you have a Netflix account, that is just easy peasy.
You're good, Seth. You're good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for signing on to this beautiful journey through the rocky seas of the Voltron fandom.
It's much rockier than this, but this is only like what we could cover.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Stay tuned with us for next week. We're going to be talking about the Sonic fandom, which I'm excited about because I recently dipped my toe back into it, especially with the Sonic fandom. We will be covering, fandom stories, OCs, all that fun jazz. Yep. Let us know in the comments what else you'd like us to cover.
Yes.
I am your captain, Sumi, or Grizzly.
And I am your captain, Chloe, or the CC nerd.
Good night, y'all.
Good